Have you ever heard about the time the RAF nuked America? Twice? I haven't. Hey guys, so I've seen a couple of reaction videos on this, mainly from the American side. I know Eclectic has done a video, but I thought it might be an idea for someone who's British to give their input on it. So let's give it a watch.
In the 1960s, Great Britain nuked the United States not once but twice.
That was during the Cold War, right?
Fortunately for all concerned, the attacks were only training exercises, but so embarrassing were these attacks that they were hidden from the American public for about 50 years.
They might be hidden from the UK public as well, because I've never heard of it.
Decades. As far as America was concerned, its defences were 99% effective, but in simulated attacks, Royal Air Force bombers managed to penetrate US airspace to launch nuclear attacks on New York City and several other important urban centres. Before I tell you how, a word from our sponsor. This episode...
I assume we didn't actually drop proper nukes. I assume. I said I'm 31. I've never heard of it. My dad is in his 50s. I don't think, and he's an army guy, and I don't think he's heard of it. I'd have to find out.
The answer is surprisingly simple and consists of two words. Avro Vulcan.
Listen to that scream from it.
The Vulcan first flew in 1952. The team that created it, led by Roy Chadwick, who designed the famous Lancaster heavy bomber.
Can I just make the point that, considering planes hadn't been around, especially then, that long, it's bloody impressive. Bloody impressive, the technology.
World War II. A jet-powered tailless delta-wing high-altitude strategic bomber, the Vulcan was the backbone of Britain's nuclear airborne deterrent during most of the Cold War, serving from 1956 until retirement in 1984.
God, imagine flying one of those.
This is the story of Exercise Sky Shield. Exercise Sky Shield 1 occurred on the 10th of September 1960, and all commercial air traffic over the US and Canada was grounded, amounting to 1,000 US commercial flights and 700 general aviation aircraft, plus a further 31 foreign flights due to land in North America. US Strategic Air Command would launch B-52 Stratofortresses and B-47 Stratojets to simulate a massive Soviet nuclear bomber force approaching North America from north and south.
How does no one know about it if they stopped, 1,000 commercial flights, domestic, and like 30 odd, whatever it said, international? Surely people have heard about it. That's a lot of flights to just stop.
360 US interceptor aircraft stood ready to defeat these enemy aircraft, which numbered 310. Among those 310 aircraft were 8 Royal Air Force Vulcan B-2 nuclear bombers. A flight of 4 flew from Scotland, while the other 4 launched from the British territory of Bermuda in the Atlantic Ocean. The American plan was to detect these enemy bombers by radar and other early warning systems, and then they would be intercepted and destroyed in simulated attacks by US jet fighters and missile batteries.
So if they knew they were coming...
The attacking bombers split their attacks
I assume they knew they were
high
coming.
and low altitude. The defending fighters did very well against the Stratojets and Stratofortresses, intercepting many of them, but the Vulcans proved more elusive opponents. The Vulcan flew at the highest altitude of the simulated Soviet bombers, cruising at 56,000 feet. One was successfully intercepted at this altitude over Goose Bay, Labrador, by a United States Air Force F-101 Voodoo, but the other 7 Vulcans all managed to penetrate American airspace to launch simulated bombing attacks on US cities. They then turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland.
Did they have the technology? Well, they must have had the technology because they managed to detect. They detected one. So surely they have the radars to go that high.
The question was, how had the Vulcan managed it? The answer was their highly advanced electronic countermeasures systems and the Vulcan's amazing maneuverability. For example, the flight of 4 aircraft that approached from Bermuda was successful because 3 of them put up a wall of electronic interference that prevented interception, while the 4th Vulcan carried out a simulated nuclear strike. This was all rather embarrassing for Strategic Air Command, which quickly buried all stories about British bombers having nuked US targets and confidently assured the American public that US air defences were, as I said, 99% effective.
I suppose they learned from their mistakes, I would
However,
assume.
the following year, the Americans invited the RAF to take part in exercise Sky Shield 2.
Oh no, they didn't mess up again.
The RAF was determined to show that
They did definitely mess up again.
Success was only a fluke, a one-time only event. Sky Shield 2, which occurred on the 14th of August 1961, was an even bigger event than the first one. It caused 2,900 US and Canadian flights to be grounded, affecting 125,000 commercial passengers.
How is this not more known of?
During the exercise,
that's a lot of flights to be cancelled.
British bombers would be pitted against 1,800 fighters and 250
big operation.
Sites, and over 200,000 Air Force personnel from the US and Canada.
It just amazes me that one of the richest, technologically advanced countries in the world can't detect these planes just because they put a little bit of electric field around their planes. Did they not know about that technology? I don't know.
Again, 8 Vulcan B-2s participated, split again into 2 flights. One attacking on the northern route from RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland via Canada, and the other 4 aircraft on a southerly route from Kindley Air Force Base, Bermuda. The B-47 Stratojets simulated low-level Soviet bombers. The B-52s would attack between 35,000 and 42,000.
B-52 bombers are just iconic planes.
The highest altitude.
You wouldn't want them coming over your country.
At the massive NORAD, or North American Air Defense Bunker at Colorado Springs, the US top brass was joined by the RAF's Air Marshal Sir Kenneth Cross of Bomber Command and Sir Wallace Kyle, Chief of the RAF Technical Training Command, to monitor the exercise. Just before 2 p.m, US interceptors pounced on the B-52s, approaching at the mid to high altitude level. The Vulcans also came in from the north, and again, due to the Vulcans' high-tech jamming equipment, only one was shot down by an F-101 Voodoo fighter. In fact, large numbers of US fighters were scrambled, but they concentrated...
I just don't understand. If they messed up first time and they knew what was on the Vulcans, the electro field, surely then they would have, for the second attempt, they would have developed their technology to detect it. Does that not make sense? Surely. Please tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But surely they would have learned the first time how the Vulcans were able to get across.
Almost exclusively on the B-52s. When the Vulcans came over, the interceptors did not have sufficient fuel remaining to climb to 56,000 feet plus and engage them. The surviving 3 Vulcans conducted their attack successfully, turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland. The southern attack force of 4 Vulcans from Bermuda reached a position 50 miles off the US coast before fighters were scrambled to intercept. Again, 3 of the Vulcans unleashed an electronic jamming screen that kept the attacking F-102 Delta daggers busy while the 4th aircraft crept round to the north and sneaked through. This Vulcan proceeded to land at Plattsburgh Air Force Base in New York. If this had been a real attack, New York City could have been reduced to a smoking, irradiated hole in the ground.
Imagine that, eh?
Many of these stratojets and stratofortresses had also managed to evade interception and launched simulated nuclear attacks, but not at the kind of success rate that the Vulcans enjoyed. In 2 massive exercises, of 8 Vulcans that attacked on each occasion, 7 had got through to their targets, an astounding survival rate against the huge might of the US air defences.
There's your problem. There's your problem in what he just said. The might of the American Air Force, or whatever he said. Complacency. That's what it is, basically. Complacency, I feel. That they think they're better than they are. And little old Britain comes and, sneaks in.
The Vulcans show that with the right aircraft, America could be laid wide open to a nation-ending assault, something which the Soviet Union would have been very interested in. Fortunately for all concerned, the relationship between Britain and the United States never changed from special to decidedly antagonistic, and the Vulcans never came in anger. The American government also tried to make damn sure that nobody ever found out about the Vulcans nuking American cities. The US Air Force was very quick to deny rumours that RAF planes had once again successfully penetrated US airspace. In fact, the US government went so far as to classify all references to Vulcans included in the Sky Shield exercises. After all, if the RAF could practice nuke New York City, Washington DC and even Chicago, the Soviets could do the same, if they could develop an aircraft as good as the Vulcan. As far as Strategic Air Command was concerned, the Vulcan episodes had never happened, and the US was well protected, and that protection, as I said, 99% effective. The Vulcans' successful attacks on America were only fully declassified in 1997, long after the Vulcan had left British service.
It's interesting, and there's a few points from that, and the first one that I said at the start, how is this so unknown? And if it's unknown in America, it's definitely unknown in the UK, because I don't think many people would know. But it's the fact that on the first practice, 1,000 domestic aircraft were stopped. That's a lot of passengers that must be wondering why were the planes stopped. So that's interesting that I said not many people know. And I made the point, and honestly, it's not trying to be rude to Americans, but the whole we're the best, it leads to complacency. It leads to complacency, and I think that might not saying it is, but might be a factor on the whole nuking America twice situation, because they weren't prepared. They weren't prepared. They think they've got everything sorted, but they haven't. And that's certainly the attitude that comes across. I might be wrong, just my opinion. It's interesting. It's interesting because, like I said, it's something that I don't think many people have known about. Anyway, like I said, I've linked Eclectic Beard's video in the description, so you can see what he thinks of it as well from the American perspective. But I've given you my perspective as someone from Britain. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.